Hi everybody, this is Brian Koo with another ROK video, and today I'm going to talk about the best way to fight as a team in a ball. I will be directing this video at my own team because we are going into a very big fight in less than 48 hours. But this advice and this analysis is going to be useful for anyone out there who wants to be a better team fighter. And right now, right off the bat, I think I can show you some not great team fighting by us. Look at how spread out we are. Look at all these marches we have down here. And then look at the red team. Essentially, our enemies do a much better job in this fight than us because they are an actual tight ball. And that is really the main thing that I want to emphasize, is that if you want to fight good as a team, you have to stick together. You have to stick together. And at this point, they have just completely thrown our ball a shamble, and they are actually doing a retreat now. This is something else that we see a lot in Modern Rise of Kingdoms. We do see teams doing organized retreats, and I will talk about that in the video a bit. I will admit that I am not great at doing this. Maybe it's because, you know, we don't win too many open field fights cleanly like this. But the enemy does do an organized retreat here because they sort of feel like we're refreshing and they're low health, and so maybe the trade is going to get a little bit bad. I do think that this particular enemy here, which is Kingdom 2885, I do think they did these organized retreats a little early sometimes, but overall they are a very, very good open field fighting team. And if you... The point of this video is we're going to see our opponents fighting really well as a team, and we're going to see our team fighting less well. Now, again, I want to emphasize the key to fighting as a team is you have to stay very close to each other. Your marches have to be in the same exact area. And what that means is that you shouldn't always be attacking the enemy. Let's again look down here at the bottom. These players down here, part of what they're trying to do is they're trying to like always be attacking. They're always trying to attack because you think that's good. It's good to always attack. But here's the thing. If you take a little bit of time, if you just take a little bit of time and bring these marches down here into the middle of the ball, yes, there are going to be moments where you are not attacking, but it's still a good move. It is still a good move to get into the center of the ball where there are so many of your teammates, and what happens is you become this impenetrable force. You just become very hard to break through because the enemy, if they get pulled in, they get nuked very quickly. And if they don't, they're still facing a bunch of people right at the middle of the ball that are not that are attacking them and not backing away. So as this fight goes on, I think what you're seeing is you see that we are fanning out more and more, right? We're just fanning out a bit more than the enemy is. And they still have a very healthy chunk right in the middle of their ball. Like, this is still very good. Look, it almost looks like you have people just standing still. Like, some of these players are almost standing still. But look at how thick their area is, and look at how thin our area is. If I had to guess, I would guess that we're probably going to get collapsed here very soon in this fight, because we're just thinning out at the center, and actually, I guess they're just going to run away here. So now let's take a look at my own dot mode fighting here. And let's just take a look at what I'm doing with my marches and whether I am playing well or not. I think overall, I do a pretty good job of staying in the middle of the ball. And it's not easy. Like, let's be real. It's not easy. You'll see many times where my marches get pulled forward, and you'll also see many times where my marches fan out. But what I would say is that about 80% of the time, all you need to be focused on is attacking the enemy. 80% of the time, listen, whatever enemy marches in front of you, just take it out. That's 80% of what you're doing. But for 20% of the time, when either the position of your teammates changes or when your own position changes, you need to be focused on your positioning rather than on attacking. And you can see here that I am really in like the center of my ball, right? I'm in the center. I've got a decent number of people above me, and I've got a decent number of people below me, and I'm right there in the middle. And that is where I want everyone to be. I want everyone to endeavor to be right there in the middle. Now listen, you're probably not going to make it because you're just going to feel like, oh, I'm not quite in the middle, but what I'm doing is very useful. That's fine. That's fine. But the point is, we always want to be consolidating rather than expanding. And generally what happens, especially when you're losing, is that your ball expands and widens, as ours is now. And I do want to point out, like, you saw me fighting near the front. You saw me in a good position. And now I'm bringing some other marches out. I'm starting to worry about my hospital a little bit. And look at how important of a role I was playing. Even though, I probably wasn't doing a ton of damage, just positioning-wise, I was where I needed to be. And as soon as I departed from that spot, our ball really did collapse. So for those players who can stay at the front of the ball, right in the center, if you can stay in that spot, if you can get yourself to that spot and stay there, you play an incredibly important role in a fight. And just imagine for a moment if a bunch of your teammates are doing that very same thing. Just imagine if a bunch of my teammates were right there with me in that same critical center of the ball spot. Now, at this point, they are inside of our cities, and I think it's a lot harder in some ways to have everyone consolidate. What I tend to do in these times is I will say, hey, we're between these two players' cities. I'll zoom in a little bit so I can see the names of the cities, and I'll say, we're between Sinzong City and, Richfield City or something like that. In this fight in particular, or in some of these fights around here, I would be telling the players who are south of our fort that they're really not doing anything, because you can't really see it on my screen here, but there are players south of our fort who come into these fights, and they just do very, very little. And once again now, you do see that the enemy is retreating. And let's now go to another fight here. I think this is a fight where we do a better job of staying together. As these fights were going on, we fought for several hours against 2885 at this level 7 pass. As the fights went on, we sort of, noticed that we had to stay really closely together. I would emphasize that stuff. And occasionally I would get overly excited and not even notice that my hospital got full. My hospital does get full here, and it looks like I lose about 10,000 troops. I take way more hospital deaths than almost anyone else I know. It is my biggest weakness in the game. But it is a big reason is because I'm focused on more than just my own marches. I'm focused on more than just my own damage, guys. It's a team game. This is a team game right here. And it is just so important to be a tight ball that sticks together and is attacking the same enemies. You can see here that the enemy has pushed us back quite a bit. And I am telling people, guys, we're north of the fort. We're south of Sinzong City. That is where we want to be. And you can see that that is so much of where the fight is. I want to make a point here about some of the enemies. I want to make a point about the enemies down here, right? We will call these the wing players. These are wing players for the enemy. They're the players who are not in the center of the ball, right? And we have a bunch of people attacking these wing players. But here is what I think about these wing players. If they're not part of the center of the ball, then they're not super team oriented. So let's be real. They're never going to clear our ball and then loop around here. That's never going to happen. That's never what they're going to do. And so if we were to just ignore them, if we had just ignored these wing players instead of fighting them, I don't think they would have really hurt us. I don't think they would have flanked us or anything like that. So I just think that they were ultimately a distraction, and they were less important targets than the players who were at the center of the ball. So here we go again. Here's another point to talk about here, is that the engagement matters too, guys. It's not only how you fight, but it's the quality of your engagement. And what happened here is they baited us with 2 siege marches, and then they charged right in on us. They got a very good engagement by pulling us out of position and then attacking as a group. Now, it's not that simple though, because they got, you know, their engage was so good that I think what happens here is that their ball actually gets a bit stretched out, right? As I zoom out into dot mode, you can see that their ball is very stretched out. They really don't have that many players attacking. Remember, if an enemy march is red in dot mode, that means they are attacking. If their march is gray colored, that means they are not attacking. They are just walking or they are retreating. Now, they were stretched out at the start of this fight, but I also think that the enemy has us quite outnumbered here. And listen, when you are outnumbered, staying as a tight ball is even more important. You give yourself a chance. You give yourself a chance to have success if you stay as a tight ball. Let's see how I'm doing with this. I'm a little high on the ball, but you know, I'm at least part of the group, right? I'm part of the group here. And you know, we're still staying pretty tight here, but you can see again at the bottom, well, I'm zooming in here so you can't quite see it. This is a tough fight for us, honestly. This fight right here is really tough. I've already lost a lot of my marches. But another thing to say to you all, my friends here who are watching this video trying to get some tips and tricks about how to fight better as a team, listen, we're going to lose some fights. We're going to lose open field fights, okay? The game is designed to be close enough. Our opponents are close enough to our ability that they will often beat us in the open field, right? So you have to accept that. You have to accept that sometimes you're going to take bad trades, but you have to hang in there and continue to do the right things. So what are the right things? 1, stay as a tight ball. 2, bring your marches out quickly. Again, the marker here is very clear. Refresh ball fast. If you die, you need to come back quickly. You can see that I am trying to come back quickly. I am stymied because my power is low. I don't have enough troops to bring back very many marches. This is what happens when you are stupid and take a lot of open field deads. But yes, stay as a tight ball. Come back out quickly. Do damage. Even if you're taking a bad trade, you need to be out there doing damage. You cannot just run away. Now, listen, the tight ball situation here, it's not hard. It's not a hard and fast rule. Obviously, right now we have 2 separate balls, right? We clearly have 2 separate balls. I think it's okay. I think the 2 separate balls here are okay because we are so close to our cities, and ultimately we want, you know, the players who are here, they want to be able to get back into the fight very quickly. So I don't hate the 2 separate balls here, but we would be stronger if we were just 1. But here's what I want to point out about this fight, right? This fight was looking really rough for us. It was looking really, really rough for us. I kept bringing my marches back out. I kept fighting. I had teammates with me the whole way. And now look at this. We are turning this fight. I don't think this was a full retreat by the enemy. I think maybe now it becomes a full retreat. But I think that we refreshed pretty well and hung in there. And we turned what looked like a very, very bad fight into something that is pretty positive at this point. Because as they retreat, we are going to get very, very good trades here. And that's going to mitigate the bad trade we took the first time. So this is a good example of what to do too, because even though this wasn't a perfect fight or anything, we hung in there. We hung in there together and we turned this fight around. And that is also a really good thing. So here we go again. Let's just look at my positioning again. You know, it's the same. I mean, I know I'm repeating the same points over and over again, but I think it is interesting to see how we do it. Right here, honestly, I could maybe reposition. Like, instead of hitting this player, I could maybe reposition back to the center of the ball. One thing I want to say, as you see my marches sort of standing in the middle of the ball, is that if you are not comfortable being at the front, if you don't fight well from the front, I would rather have you in the middle to back of this ball than have you somewhere else or fanned out along the sides. I would rather have you just standing in the middle of the ball, waiting to snipe any enemy march that comes in. Because here's the thing, the marches that we're fighting right here, the marches who are really pushing into our ball, they are the most important enemies to kill. They really are. They are the enemies that are going to break our front line if we let them. So if you are just standing in the middle of the ball, you are doing a good job. You are fine. I would rather you be aggressive and be at the front like I am now. But if you are just standing in this group, that is better than being on the sides. Let's keep this ball really, really tight, and let's reposition when we need to. Now here, again, I could reposition. I could reposition downward to be more in the ball. I'm sort of like at the top side of this ball. I think that's fine as well. I think where I am is fine, but just understand that if I were to reposition, I would be repositioning downwards instead of up. Now I'm really in the center. I'm down to only 2 marches, but these 2 marches, they really are in the center of this ball. And, you know, the red team, they had been beating us for, you know, they had been beating us all night, really. And I think what you saw here from us was we did have this tighter ball. Like, as the night went on, we got a little bit better at being very, very close together. And yes, they're winning this fight here, but it was a pretty competitive fight. It really was a competitive fight. And we have enough people left here where it feels to me like we can maybe even turn this. I actually don't remember what happens in this fight at this point. But I mean, I'm just looking at it. I'm like, you know, the numbers wise, this looks okay for us. And again, I'm telling people where to be. I'm saying we're in between Sinzong and Richfield City here, guys. I just want everybody to be at the same place. I know this is a game of centimeters here. I know I'm really harping on like very small differences where, you know, we've got a few people who are north of Sinzong's city, right? They're up here. I just don't think this is that good. I don't think this is that productive. I just think if you move half a screen down to where we are here, where's my pencil? There we go. If you just move down a little bit to where we are here, I think this is where the fight gets turned. I think this is where the fight gets turned, guys. So, I mean, it seems like a small thing. It seems like, you know, moving your marches just a few inches is not a big deal, but I really feel like it is a big deal. I feel like you want to magnify the damage you're doing. You all want to be targeting the same enemy. And if we can target the same enemies, and if that enemy are the people at the front of their ball pressuring us the most, then guess what? We're doing a great job of focus firing the VIP enemy targets. And so that's what I would like to see from my team in 2 days when we go into Zone 5. Thank you all for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment if you disagree with what I have to say here. This is just my opinion about open field fighting. I will admit that I don't really talk to too many people about what they are doing, but this is my opinion, and these are my observations after fighting a team that genuinely was better organized in the field than we were. Shout out to Kingdom 2885 for giving us these good examples of their very sturdy, tight ball, and I hope that we can replicate it in the future. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all on the flip side.